Jackson Hale had always believed that the frontier mining outpost on Riddenfor was the quietest place in the galaxy. A man could work his shift, clean the dust from his suit, fall asleep without needing to think about anything more exciting than the next supply ship. Life was predictable, almost boring, but comfortable in its own slow rhythm. That was why. When the sky tore open with a streak of silver light, Jackson assumed it was just a falling satellite. Maybe somebody in orbit had gotten careless. Maybe another mining drone had malfunctioned, but the object didn't fall. It stopped. Right above him, Jackson froze in the middle of a dusty plain, staring up as a smooth, metallic vessel hovered silently above the ground. There was no engine noise. No rumble of air displacement, just a cold, perfect stillness, as if the ship was ignoring the rules of physics out of sheer confidence. His first thought was simple. This is not from any company I know. His second thought arrived only when a pale beam of blue light shot down around him. Oh, come on, he muttered. Are you serious? Before he could run, the beam pulled him upward. The world blurred. The dust vanished. And in a single breath, the barren mining field turned into a polished corridor of alien metal. Jackson stumbled forward, trying to catch his balance on a floor so smooth it felt like glass. Soft white lights hummed overhead. Strange symbols glowed along the walls, letters he couldn't recognize. Curves that looked more like artwork than language. He wasn't alone. A figure stood at the far end of the corridor, watching him with bright silver eyes. She was humanoid, but not human-all, slender. With skin like soft ceramic marble and hair that shimmered like strands of metallic silk, a pair of elegant lines glowed faintly across her cheekbones. Pulsing like gentle heartbeats, she looked young, curious, and slightly nervous. Do not be afraid, she said in clear, careful English, though her voice had a musical echo. You are unharmed. Jackson blinked. I've been kidnapped by a space fashion model. Her head tilted. I do not understand that phrase. Never mind, he said quickly. Who are you? What am I doing here? And can I go home before my supervisor panics and files a report? The alien stepped closer, hands raised in a peaceful gesture. My name is Verillin. I am a xenobiologist of the Etherus Concord. And you are Jackson Hale, human technician of Outpost Riddenfor. How do you know my name? I scanned your identification badge as we transported you aboard. Well, Jackson said, rubbing the back of his neck. That's not creepy at all. Vera blinked as if unsure whether he was making a joke. Jackson couldn't blame her. He wasn't sure either. She continued softly. Please understand, Jackson Hale. I did not choose you without reason. Your world and your species are new to our star region. Our protocols require a brief study of visiting life forms to ensure compatibility with local environments. A study? Jackson repeated. Like a medical check. Yes, a single night of observation, non-invasive. She hesitated, then added, I apologize for the suddenness. It was not my wish to cause alarm. Jackson crossed his arms. A little warning would have helped. Vera nodded, looking almost guilty. I will remember that. As strange as everything felt, her tone didn't carry malice. If anything, she seemed earnest, almost too earnest to be dangerous. Jackson finally exhaled, letting some of his tension fade. All right, he said. So what does this observation involve? Measurements, reflex tests, cognitive assessments, conversations. She glanced at him with cautious interest. Humans are puzzling. I wish to understand you better. Now, Jackson wasn't sure whether to feel flattered or annoyed. But an alien scientist trying to understand humans sounded far better than an alien soldier looking to vivisect them. Fine, he said. But after this one-night experiment of yours, you're sending me straight back. Vera nodded immediately. Of course. She motioned for him to follow her down the corridor. As they walked, Jackson found himself staring at everything: the floating panels, the seamless walls, the subtle glow beneath their feet that brightened and dimmed with each step. This ship is unreal, he murmured. It is an Etherus scout vessel, Vera explained, designed for silent movement and high-efficiency travel. Translation: it made every human ship look like a rusty dumpster. They arrived in a circular chamber filled with transparent screens, hovering tablets, and soft blue lights. A bed-like examination table rested in the center, but it looked comfortable, more like a reclining chair than medical equipment. "Please sit," Vera said. "I will begin with surface readings." "What kind of readings?" "Temperature, heart rate, neural patterns. I assure you nothing harmful." Jackson sat cautiously. The chair adjusted to his posture with gentle fluidity, and he jumped a little. "It moves on its own." "It adapts to your comfort," Vera said, almost proudly. "Etherian design avoids discomfort whenever possible." "Well, you're doing better than most human companies already." Vera's lips curled in the smallest hint of a smile, like she was pleased to understand a joke for the first time. She lifted a thin, circular device, no bigger than a bracelet, and placed it around his wrist. It glowed faintly, then displayed numbers in alien script. "Your physiology is fascinating," Vera murmured. "Your adrenal response is higher than expected, yet your cognitive activity remains stable. That's just me trying not to freak out. Your ability to remain calm is admirable." Jackson snorted. "Trust me, I'm not calm. I'm just good at pretending. That is still impressive." Her voice carried genuine respect. Jackson wasn't used to that. Humans didn't impress other species. Often humans were the newcomers in the galaxy, the upstarts still trying to figure out how to fit in. The idea that an alien found him interesting was strange, but not unpleasant. For several hours, Vera guided him through various tasks, simple puzzles, memory games, moving objects under mild pressure fields, reacting to shifting lights. None of it hurt. If anything, the tests were weirdly fun. Vera watched everything with intense focus, her silver eyes darting between readings. "You adapt quickly," she said. "Your short-term pattern recognition is far above predictions." "Oh, thanks." "You also applied unconventional solutions to several tasks." "That's polite scientist speak for I cheated, isn't it?" Vera studied him. "Is creativity considered cheating?" "Sometimes, then, humans must cheat often." Jackson chuckled. "You have no idea." Hours passed without Jackson realizing it. Eventually, Vera gestured toward the wall, and a shimmering portal opened, revealing the stars outside. Riddenfor glowed below them, its dusty plain stretching like a brown blanket across the horizon. "You will return soon," she said quietly. "The sun will rise on your outpost in less than 2 hours." "Good," Jackson said with a sigh. "I've had enough excitement for one day." But Vera didn't smile. Her expression had grown thoughtful, almost troubled. "What's wrong?" he asked. Before she could answer, the lights in the chamber flickered. A sharp alarm pulsed through the ships, soft but urgent. Vera's eyes widened. "Raider ships. They are approaching fast." Jackson sat up. "Pirates. Out here?" "Yes, and they are armed." She tapped a glowing panel, her fingers moving quickly. "Our shields are malfunctioning." "They should not be." "Can you fix it?" "I am a scientist, not an engineer," she admitted. "I lack the knowledge, too." Jackson pushed himself off the chair. "Show me the problem." "You." "Jackson, this is dangerous." "I work with mining equipment that explodes when you sneeze wrong," he said. "Just show me." She hesitated a second, then hurried to the control console. Jackson leaned over it, scanning the diagrams. "Oh, I know this issue," he said. "Your capacitor regulators are looping feedback. You'll overload in minutes. You understand this?" Vera whispered. "Yeah, I've seen old human machines do something similar." Without waiting, he reached under the panel, searching for the right module. His fingers brushed warm metal. He twisted a connector, rerouted a feed line, and overrode a faulty link with a manual bypass. The shield reading steadied. The ship hummed. The alarms dimmed. The approaching raiders vanished from the screen as the shield cloaked them again. Vera stared at him like he'd just rewritten. "The laws of physics. You solved a problem our tech teams have." "Struggled with for years," she said in disbelief. Jackson shrugged. "Sometimes you just hit the stuck part until it listens." "Metaphorically speaking, But Vera wasn't listening anymore. She was studying him with new eyes filled with wonder, curiosity, and something like fear. "Jackson Hale," she said softly, "I believe I may have underestimated the value of humans." He raised an eyebrow. "Is that good or bad?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "Potentially? History-changing?" Jackson Hale had never imagined that saving an alien ship's shields would change the atmosphere inside it so quickly. One moment, Verillin was a calm scientist, performing routine tests. The next, she was pacing around the control room, her silver eyes filled with a mixture of excitement and concern. Jackson stood near the console, still wiping dust from his hands. "Hey, you okay? You're walking like someone spilled acid on your favorite shoes." Vera paused, trying to translate his human metaphor. "I am not injured. I am processing." "Processing what?" She turned to him slowly. "Your reaction time. Your unconventional logic. Your ability to repair a system you have never encountered." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "These traits are extremely rare within my species." Jackson scratched his head. "Thanks, I guess. But I'm just a mining engineer. We fix things, or the bosses yell at us." "You do not understand," Vera said, shaking her head. "Humans are new to this region of space. We studied your digital signals and basic biology, but we assumed your thinking patterns were similar to ours, with only minor differences." "Humans are known for doing dumb things in creative ways," Jackson said. "Creative is the correct term," she answered. "But the scale of your adaptability, I underestimated it." Before he could respond, the ship suddenly shifted direction. The stars outside streaked, stretching into long lines as the vessel entered a faster travel mode. Jackson grabbed the nearest railing. "Whoa, are we jumping to hyperspace or something?" "Not hyperspace," Vera said gently. "But we must return to Etherus Prime, my homeworld." Jackson blinked. Wait, your homeworld." "Why?" Vera hesitated. "Because what happened tonight must be reported to the Concord Council. You may be more important than you realize." Jackson did not like the sound of that. "Look," he said slowly, "I'm flattered that you think I'm some kind of genius, but I really need to go back. My shift starts in 4 hours. If I don't show up, my supervisor will think I fell into a mining shaft." Vera stepped closer, eyes full of sincerity. "I will return you, I promise. But the Concord needs to understand your species. If your cognitive traits exist among all humans, your arrival could shift the balance of our entire region." "Shift it how?" Vera took a breath, then spoke in a low, serious tone. "Our empire is stuck. For centuries, we developed advanced technology, but our thinking became rigid. Innovation slowed. Many nobles cling to old traditions. Our society is strong, but fragile." Jackson frowned. "You mean, you're smart, but not flexible?" "Yes, exactly." She looked at him with curiosity. Humans, however, appear to be both. High flexibility, high adaptability, and the ability to solve problems quickly using methods we do not consider. Jackson let out a long sigh. "So, because I patched your shields, you think humans could help fix your whole civilization?" "I think you represent something my people have not seen in a very long time," Vera said quietly. "Someone who thinks differently." The ship continued gliding smoothly through space, faster than any human vessel Jackson had ever seen. He stared at the star patterns, trying to steady his thoughts. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a chosen one. He wasn't even the best engineer at the outpost. He just knew how to fix things when they broke. But the idea that his skills could matter to an alien empire, that was terrifying. After a few minutes of silence, Jackson finally spoke. "All right, I'll come with you. But only if you promise where that you'll send me home after." Vera nodded immediately. "You have my word." That comforted him a little. Hours later, the ship emerged near a massive planet glowing blue and silver. Tall energy rings encircled its equator like shining halos. Countless ships drifted around it, forming peaceful patterns that looked almost like choreographed dances. Jackson stared out the window. "Wow, this is your home?" Yes, Vera said with quiet pride. Etherus Prime, the heart of our civilization. Even from space, the world looked advanced beyond anything humanity had built. Floating cities drifted across the atmosphere. Beams of light connected structures like veins of energy. Everything felt alive and moving. The ship descended toward a tall spire that rose above a gleaming city. The building shimmered with layered glass and metal, shaped like a twisting tower of crystal. That is the Concord Institute, Vera said. Our center for science, diplomacy, and research. As they landed, Jackson felt the floor settle with a soft click. He followed Vera down the ramp. The air was cool and clean, carrying a faint floral scent. The ground beneath his boots felt soft, almost like flexible stone. A group of aliens approached them, tall, elegant, and dressed in long shimmering robes. Their expressions shifted when they saw Jackson. Surprise, curiosity, and something else, unease. One of them stepped forward, older and more serious looking. His skin had deeper patterns of glowing lines indicating high rank. Verillin, he said sternly, you return unexpectedly. And you bring a human? Yes, Counselor Dareth, Vera said, bowing slightly. This is Jackson Hale. I discovered something extraordinary about his abilities. Dareth examined Jackson as if he were both a treasure and a possible threat. A human, solving Etherus shield malfunctions. Hard to believe. I saw it happen, Vera insisted. He adapted instantly. Dareth turned to Jackson. Human, do you understand where you are? Jackson lifted his hands carefully. I'm just visiting. I don't want trouble. Your presence is trouble, Dareth replied bluntly. If Vera's claims are true, your species may influence the balance of our empire. Vera stepped forward protectively. He is not dangerous. That remains to be seen. Jackson felt his stomach twist. These aliens weren't hostile, but they clearly didn't trust him. He wasn't sure he blamed them if a random alien had shown up on Earth, claiming to fix human problems. People wouldn't react calmly either. Dareth motioned for them to follow. The High Council will want to see the results of your tests, Verillin, and they will want to examine him themselves. Jackson leaned toward Vera and whispered, Is that good? It depends, she whispered back, but I will stand with you. They walked through the shimmering halls, passing rooms filled with floating screens, hovering vehicles, and strange machines. Jackson felt like he was walking through a science museum built by the future. Finally, they entered a large chamber with a circular table. 10 counselors sat around it, each with glowing symbols across their robes. Their eyes all turned toward Jackson. One counselor spoke with a calm but firm voice. Human Jackson Hale. You are here because your behavior during a crisis displayed unique problem-solving skills. We wish to test this further. Jackson tried to stand confidently, though his heart pounded. I'll do my best. Counselor tapped a panel. A holographic maze appeared in the center of the room, filled with shifting obstacles and glowing nodes. This is the trial of minds, the counselor said. A non-dangerous simulation testing adaptability. Etherians trained for years to complete it. Jackson stepped up, studying the maze. It looked complicated, too complicated, but he didn't back away. Instead, he took a deep breath and entered the simulation. The maze shifted, walls moving like living creatures. Lights blinked in confusing patterns. But Jackson didn't panic. He tested paths doubled back when needed, and tried odd solutions like jumping onto a moving panel to ride it across a gap that wasn't meant to be crossed. Counselors whispered in shock. That is not the intended method. He is improvising. He bypassed stage 3 entirely. At the end of the trial, Jackson stood in the center as the maze dissolved. He wasn't sure if he'd done well, but he wasn't dead, and that felt like a victory. The room fell silent. Finally, Dareth spoke softly, almost reluctantly. It is true. Humans think differently. Another counselor leaned forward. Verillin, your discovery may indeed change the future of this empire. Jackson frowned. Change it how? Dareth met his eyes. That depends on who learns of you first. Some will see your abilities as hope, others as danger. A chill moved through Jackson. Vera stepped closer to him. Do not fear. I will protect you. I brought you here. You are my responsibility. For the first time since arriving, Jackson felt a little safer. But deep inside, he also understood something. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He had stepped into the center of a political storm, one that could reshape an entire galaxy. The trial of minds had ended, but the echoes of Jackson's unexpected success continued to bounce through the chambers of the Concord Institute. Counselors whispered to each other. Assistants hurried from room to room carrying datapads filled with reports. Even the automated drones buzzed around, like they sensed something unusual had happened. And in the middle of all this movement stood Jackson Hale, a human mining engineer who had never wanted this kind of attention. He rubbed his face tiredly. Vera, do all your tests involve running through mazes that shift like living snakes? Vera walked beside him, her expression a mixture of concern and pride. Only the high-level ones. They test strategic adaptability. Most Etherians take months to complete even half of it, and I finished it by accident. You did not finish by accident, she corrected softly. You used creativity. You found paths the creators of the test did not expect anyone to use. Jackson shrugged. Well, sometimes the best path is the one nobody thinks about. Vera stopped walking and turned to face him fully. Jackson, understand something important. Our society values perfection, structure, logic. We follow patterns that have existed for centuries. Deviating from the expected path is rare, often discouraged. Sounds strict, Jackson said. It is efficient, Vera replied, but it limits innovation. That is why your actions are so shocking to us. Before Jackson could respond, a tall young Etherian approached. His robe shimmered with lines of blue, marking him as a junior council assistant. He looked at Jackson with wide, uncertain eyes. Human Jackson Hale, he said politely. The council requests your presence once again. They have prepared a second evaluation. Jackson groaned softly. More tests? Vera nodded sympathetically. They must understand whether your abilities are unique or common among humans. The assistant motioned for them to follow. They walked down a long corridor with transparent walls. Outside, Jackson could see floating gardens, winding energy streams, and vehicles darting through the sky with silent grace. No matter how many times I look, Jackson whispered, this place still feels unreal. It is home to us, Vera said gently. But I understand why it feels strange to you. The assistant stopped at a large circular doorway. It opened with a soft chime, revealing a wide chamber filled with transparent platforms and glowing pillars, ranged like a grid. Jackson stepped inside cautiously. What is this? Counselor Dareth stood near the center. His posture was formal, but there was a new sharpness in his expression, like he was studying Jackson even before the test began. This is the cognitive arena, Dareth announced. It measures strategic decision-making under pressure. You will face simulated situations and must choose the best response. Jackson raised an eyebrow. So, like a video game, Dareth frowned. I do not know this video game, but yes, something like that. Vera leaned close to Jackson. Do your best. But do not let them push you too hard. The test began. A holographic battlefield appeared around Jacksina, peaceful valley with green hills and a river running through it. But within seconds, problems began appearing. A bridge was collapsing. A transport vehicle malfunctioned. Two groups of travelers needed help. Weather conditions shifted wildly. Text appeared above each problem, offering 3 choices. Jackson had to act fast. Instinct took over. He ordered the travelers to build a temporary support for the bridge. Using nearby materials, he shut off the transport's power core before it exploded. He directed one group to higher ground while helping the other find shelter. The holographic world shifted again, presenting new challenges: communication failures, conflicting missions, unexpected hazards. Jackson improvised solutions using simple logic, practical thinking, and tricks he'd learned from years of working on unpredictable mining equipment. At last, the simulation faded. The chamber lights brightened. Jackson stood sweating slightly. Breathing hard, Counselor Dareth looked stunned. Another counselor whispered, "His response time is extraordinary. He chooses practical solutions rather than theoretical ones. His decision patterns are unpredictable." Jackson wiped his forehead. "Is unpredictable good or bad?" Vera answered before the counselors could. Unpredictable can mean innovative. Humans use creativity where we rely on tradition. The counselors exchanged long glances. Finally, Dareth stepped forward. "Human Jackson Hale, you have completed the cognitive arena in less time and with higher stability than most Etherian tacticians." Jackson blinked. "Does that mean I passed?" Dareth hesitated. "It means you are different." Jackson wasn't sure that was a compliment. Another counselor stood. Her voice was calm, but thoughtful. "Verillin, this discovery can shape the future. If humans truly possess such adaptability, they could help us break the stagnation that has held us for centuries." A counselor on the opposite side spoke sharply. "Or they could destabilize our traditions entirely." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Vera stepped forward, voice steady. "Jackson is not a threat. He is simply human. Our understanding of his species is incomplete." Dareth's eyes narrowed. "Which is precisely why further testing is necessary." Jackson's stomach twisted. "How much more testing?" Dareth did not answer. Instead, he turned to the counselors. "We must decide how to proceed. If word spreads of this human's abilities, certain noble factions may react strongly. Some will seek to harness this new potential, others to eliminate it." Jackson felt a chill run down his spine. Eliminate. Hey, I didn't sign up for that part. Vera immediately moved to stand between Jackson and the council table. "If the council believes Jackson will be harmed in any way, I will formally request protective custody for him under my authority." Dareth raised an eyebrow. "You wish to take responsibility for him?" "Yes," Vera said firmly. "I brought him here. His safety is my duty." Jackson stared at her, stunned. She barely knew him, yet she was ready to stand against her own government to protect him. The council whispered among themselves. After a few tense moments, Dareth spoke again. "Very well. The council grants temporary protective status to the human under Verillin's guardianship." Jackson exhaled in relief, but Dareth's tone darkened. "However, there is another matter. The Concord must prepare for a political storm. News of the humans' tests will not remain secret for long."
"What kind of storm?"
Jackson asked cautiously. "Etherian noble houses have a long history of competing for influence," a counselor replied. "If they learn a human can solve problems, our strategists cannot. They may view you as either a valuable tool or a dangerous wildcard." Jackson frowned. "I'm nobody's tool. Some will not care what you want," Dareth warned. Vera placed a gentle hand on Jackson's shoulder. "Do not fear. You are not alone." Council dismissed them with a wave. Jackson followed Vera out of the chamber, feeling the weight of dozens of eyes on his back. As they walked down the corridor, Jackson finally spoke. "This is getting out of hand," yes, Vera admitted. "But we must be cautious. The noble houses pay close attention to council activities. They may already know you are here." Jackson stopped walking. "Vera, be honest. Am I in danger?" She turned toward him, her silver eyes calm but serious. "Not yet. But soon, many will want something from you. Some will want to use your mind. Some will want to challenge you. And some—" She hesitated. "Some may fear you," Great Jackson muttered. "I come for one night of tests and end up in the middle of alien politics." Vera offered a small, encouraging smile. "You survived my tests without fear. You will survive this too." Jackson chuckled weakly. "I don't know if I'm brave or just clueless. Perhaps both," Vera said gently. "But that combination may be exactly what the Etherus Concord needs." A soft alarm sounded across the hallway. Vera checked a glowing tablet, and her expression tightened. "What now?" Jackson asked nervously. Someone unauthorized just entered the Institute, Vera said. 2 signatures. Moving toward us. Jackson's breath caught. Who are they? Vera stepped forward protectively. A noble faction, perhaps? Or worse. She looked directly at him. Stay behind me, Jackson. The political storm has already begun. The hallways of the Concord Institute were usually quiet-filled only with the soft hum of floating lights and the calm footsteps of researchers. But now, the silence felt tense. Like the air itself held its breath, Jackson Hale followed closely behind Verillin as she hurried through the corridor. Her movements were quick and precise, but Jackson could tell she was worried. The soft glow of her facial lines pulsed faster than usual. Vera, Jackson whispered, you said 2 unauthorized signatures? How dangerous are we talking? Vera didn't slow down. Dangerous enough. The Institute is a protected facility. It's only someone with high-level access can break through its security. So, elite trouble? Yes. Jackson swallowed. He wasn't scared easily, but being hunted by unknown alien nobles was definitely new territory for him. They reached a bend in the hallway. Vera raised a hand, signaling him to stop. She pressed her palm against a glowing panel, and a holographic map appeared, showing red dots moving closer. They are approaching from the research wing, she said. We must reach the security chamber before they reach us. Jackson frowned. Why aren't your guards stopping them? Vera hesitated. If a noble house is involved, their clearance codes may override certain locks. And if someone inside, the council helped them. She didn't finish the sentence, but Jackson understood. This wasn't just trouble. It was a planned attack. Okay, Jackson said quietly. Lead the way. They moved quickly through the spiraling corridors until they reached a circular room filled with holographic screens. A single guard stood at the center, wearing polished armor and monitoring several feeds at once. The guard turned sharply when they entered. Scientist Verillin. Why are you? His eyes landed on Jackson, widening. The human. You brought him here. There is no time, Vera said. We require lockdown protocols. The guard hesitated. I cannot activate a full lockdown without council approval. Vera stepped forward. Then I request emergency protocol, 7X. An authorized intrusion confirmed. The guard hesitated and nodded and activated the command. Immediately. Loud clacks echoed through the Institute as sealed doors slid into place and energy barriers formed across hallways. Jackson let out a breath. Good. That should slow them. Boom. The door behind them shook violently. The guard's face went pale. They're using force disruptors. That's military grade. Jackson instinctively stepped back. Why would? Nobles attack a science building? Vera answered quietly. Because you are here. The door shook again. It's harder this time. A spiderweb of cracks spread across the glowing barrier. The guard raised his staff weapon. Get behind me. But Vera grabbed Jackson's arm. We must leave. If they want him, they will not stop. Through where? Jackson asked. Vera pointed toward a narrow maintenance tunnel at the back of the chamber. There, guard nodded. Go. I'll hold them as long as I can. But Jackson began. The guard gave him a firm look. Human, your survival now affects the fate of our empire. Go. Another explosion hit the door. Jackson didn't argue again. He and Vera slipped into the maintenance tunnel as the door behind them shattered. The tunnel was dim and narrow, filled with humming pipes and glowing wires. Jackson kept his head low as they moved quickly. He tried to lighten the mood. This is starting to feel like every sci-fi movie I've seen. Vera raised an eyebrow. Is this comforting? Not really, but it helps me pretend I know what I'm doing. Vera gave him a small smile. But it faded quickly when a distant blast shook the tunnel. We must reach the outer ring, she said. There is a transport bay there. If we can escape the Institute, we can go to a safer location. Jackson nodded. Lead the way. They crawled through the cramped tunnel until they reached a hatch. Vera opened it slowly, peering through the gap. The corridor ahead was empty. For now it is clear, she whispered. They stepped out quietly, but they didn't get far. A voice echoed behind them. Well, Verillin. You found yourself a pet. Jackson froze. Vera spun around instantly. A tall Etherean noble stepped from the shadows, robes dark, face sharp and glowing markings arranged in patterns Jackson hadn't seen before. 2 armored guards stood behind him. Vera's face hardened.
Out.
Lord Kether, why are you here? Kether smirked. Is that not obvious? The Council hides a powerful new asset inside these walls. It's an asset that could shift control of the Concord. He pointed a long finger at Jackson. Him. Jackson lifted his hands. I'm not an asset. I'm just a guy who fixes broken mining machines. Kether laughed. And yet you solved a shield problem our engineers failed to fix? You passed trials designed to challenge our brightest minds. Do not pretend to be ordinary, human, Jackson muttered. I was hoping that would work. Kether stepped closer. Our empire stands at the edge of stagnation. Whoever controls you controls the future. Vera moved protectively in front of Jackson. He is not an object to control. The Concord will not allow you to manipulate him. Kether's smile faded. The Concord is weak. It clings to traditions that no longer matter. It is time for a stronger hand to take power. Jackson stared. Are you talking about a coup? Kether's eyes glowed. A new era requires bold actions. He raised a hand. Take the human. The guards began to move. Vera reacted instantly. She tapped a hidden device on her wrist, sending out a pulse of bright energy that crackled across the floor. The guards stumbled, shields flickering. Jackson didn't wait. He grabbed Vera's arm. Run. They hurried down the corridor as Kether shouted orders behind them. They reached a wide, curved balcony overlooking the lower levels of the Institute. Below, alarms blared as drones scrambled and guards engaged intruders. Jackson stared. This is chaos. Vera nodded grimly. Kether must have allies inside. This was planned. How do we get out? Vera pointed to a lift platform on the far side of the balcony. If we reach that, we can descend to the transport bay. They ran. Halfway across, a group of armed nobles appeared, blocking their path. Jackson's heart thudded. We need another plan. Vera scanned the area quickly. There, she pointed. To a maintenance glider, small floating platform used for repairs parked near the edge of the balcony. You can fly that? Jackson asked. No, Vera said honestly. But you can. Jackson stared at her. How do you know that? You've repaired my ship without any training. You think differently. Improvise. You can do this. Jackson wanted to argue, but there was no time. The nobles were charging. Fine, he muttered. But if we crash, I'm blaming you. They sprinted to the glider. Jackson jumped onto the control panel, running his hands over the unfamiliar layout. Okay. This looks like throttle. This looks like direction. I'm guessing this button. The glider lurched forward. Was the power. They shot off the balcony, dropping into the open air of the Institute's inner chamber. The nobles reached the railing too late. Vera held on to Jackson as the glider swerved wildly. Do not hit anything. I'm trying. Xen shouted. He dodged energy beams, weaving between support pillars and glowing platforms. The glider shook violently, but Jackson used instinct, tilting, dipping, adjusting on the fly. Finally, they spotted the transport bay below. There, Vera shouted. Land near the silver ship. Jackson angled the glider downward. The landing was rough, but they didn't crash mostly thanks to luck. They jumped off the glider and ran toward the small silver ship. As the hatch opened, Vera turned to Jackson. Once we take off, Kether cannot stop us easily, but the Concord will soon be at war with itself. Jackson climbed aboard. And we're right in the middle of it. Vera nodded. But if we survive, she said softly, you may change everything. The ship lifted off behind them. Alarms echoed across Etherus's prime. The coup had begun. The silver ship sped through the skies of Etherus Prime, leaving the chaos of the Institute far behind. The clouds glowed blue beneath them, and energy storms flashed in the distance. But inside the cockpit, the air felt heavy. Jackson sat in the co-pilot's seat, still trying to catch his breath. His heart thudded with leftover fear and adrenaline. Verillin piloted the ship with sharp focus, her glowing lines pulsing in a steady rhythm. "Tell me straight," Jackson said quietly. "How bad is it?" Vera's hands tightened on the controls. "Kether will not stop with the Institute. He will try to take the Concord Senate. If he convinces enough noble houses to join him, this could become a full civil war. So your whole empire is on the line." "Our whole empire," she corrected gently. "You are part of this now." Jackson sighed. "Lucky me." Vera looked at him with calm seriousness. "Jackson, Kether wants control over you because he believes your way of thinking is different, not restricted by our traditions, not shaped by old rules. Humans see solutions we ignore." Jackson scratched his head. "I just fixed a broken device by accident. That doesn't make me special." "It does," she said softly. "Your mind is not limited by Etherian systems. That makes you unpredictable and valuable." Jackson didn't know what to say to that, so he leaned back and stared at the passing clouds. "So what's our plan?" he finally asked. Vera took a deep breath. "We cannot stop Kether alone, but we can reach the High Conclave before he does. If we warn them, they can call every loyal house. And if we get there too late, then Kether will seize the throne." Jackson blinked. "Wait, you guys have a throne?" Vera hesitated. "Not exactly. The ruler is selected by the Conclave. Their authority comes from wisdom, not blood." Jackson nodded slowly. "That's actually pretty cool, which is why Kether wants to break it," Vera said. "He wants a king knot, a council, and he wants me as his weapon." Jackson rubbed his face. This guy really has bad taste. The ship descended toward the northern mountains, where giant white spires jutted from the cliffs like crystal towers. This was the High Conclave Citadel, the most important building on the planet. As they approached, dozens of floating drones scanned them. But instead of attacking, they formed a protective escort. Vera smiled slightly. "They recognize my clearance." "Good. It means Kether has not taken this place yet." The ship landed on a glowing platform. Guards in ceremonial armor rushed forward, surrounding them with staffs raised until they saw Vera. One guard bowed. "Scientist Verillin, we received your emergency signal. Is it true? Has the Institute fallen?" "Not fully," Vera said. "But Kether's forces have breached its defenses. He will come here next." "And the human?" the guard asked cautiously. "Is under protection?" Vera answered, her tone firm. "And he has vital information for the Conclave." The guards exchanged glances but didn't question her further. They led Jackson and Vera into the massive crystal hall of the Conclave. Inside, the chamber glowed with soft violet light. High nobles and elder scholars stood in small groups, whispering anxiously. When Jackson entered, the room grew quiet. A tall elder with silver markings stepped forward. "Verillin, why bring an outsider to this sacred place?" "Because he is the reason Kether wants power," she replied. "And the reason he must not succeed." Jackson swallowed. All eyes turned toward him. Alien eyes. Bright eyes. Judging eyes, the elder studied him carefully. "Human, what do you know of this?" Jackson took a deep breath. "Kether thinks he can control me. He thinks I'm some tool that'll let him take over the Concord. But I'm not a weapon. I don't belong to him." "You fixed one of our most advanced shields," another noble said. "How?" Jackson shrugged awkwardly. "I looked at it, and I just saw the mistake. It was like a puzzle, and I like puzzles." Whispers filled the hall. Vera stepped forward. "This is what Kether wants. Human creativity. Human flexibility. Our people follow tradition so strictly that we sometimes fail to see simple solutions." The elder nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember when humans first appeared in our records. Curious minds. Restless minds. But curiosity is not a threat," Jackson said. "Kether is the threat. He wants to start a war using me as an excuse." The chamber fell silent. Then a noble approached hall, dressed in shimmering robes. "Human Jackson Hale. Would you testify to the conclave?" Jackson blinked. Testify what?" that you do not support Kether, that you do not wish to be used, that you stand with the Concord. Jackson hesitated for only a moment. His life on Earth was simple, safe, quiet. But here he had found purpose, adventure, people worth protecting, especially one glowing, stubborn scientist who believed in him. "I'll testify," he said firmly. The nobles nodded. Just as the Citadel doors exploded, smoke filled the chamber. Guards shouted. Shards of crystal scattered across the floor. Kether strode into the hall, flanked by heavily armored warriors. His eyes burned with triumph. "Thank you, Conclave, for gathering so neatly," he said. "You make this easier." Vera pulled Jackson back as Kether raised a glowing device. "By authority of the noble house Cathorian, I claim the right of dominion." The elders gasped. One shouted, "That law is ancient. It has not been used in centuries." Kether smiled darkly. "Exactly. You grew weak, predictable." Guards charged at him. But his warriors activated wide force barriers. Sending the defenders flying, Kether pointed at Jackson. "The human comes with me." Vera blocked him. "I will not allow it." Kether sneered. "Move aside, scientist." "No." For the first time, anger flashed across his controlled face. "Very well," he said coldly. "Then you fall with him." He lifted his weapon, and Jackson stepped in front of Vera. "Enough," Jackson shouted. "You want someone who thinks differently? Fine, I'll show you different." Kether paused. Jackson pointed at the glowing device in Kether's hand. "Your Dominion relic, it's overheating. You overcharged the core. That design can't take that much energy." Kether's eyes narrowed. "Do not lie to me." "I'm not lying. Look at the indicator on the side. It's blinking red." Kether glanced down, and his pupils shrank. The nobles gasped. The relic was unstable. Jackson raised his voice. "If you activate that thing, it won't make you king. It'll blow up half the chamber." Kether's hand trembled slightly. "Impossible. You cannot understand this technology." "I don't need to understand it," Jackson said calmly. "I can see it." The relic flickered violently. Kether panicked and tried to stabilize it. But Jackson stepped forward and pressed a panel. On the device he had noticed earlier, the relic powered down instantly. Kether froze. The hall fell silent. Jackson handed the inactive relic back to the nearest elder. "This belongs to the Conclave, not him." The elder stared at the relic, then at Jackson, astonished. Kether screamed, "No, that human is mine." Instantly, every noble guard in the room pointed their staffs at him. The elder declared loudly, "Lord Kether, you have violated ancient law, attacked sacred land, and attempted to overthrow the Concord. You are stripped of all titles." Kether stared in shock. "You cannot do this." "We just did." Guards seized him as he shouted in furious disbelief. His warriors surrendered one by one. The coup was over. Hours later, the conclave gathered again. The elder approached Jackson with a solemn expression. "Human Jackson, hail, because you saved the Concord from a civil war, because you prevented great destruction, and because you think in ways no Etherian can, we offer you a title." Jackson blinked. "Title?" The elder nodded. "We name you Crown Advisor of the Concorda position, equal to a king in authority, yet not bound by our traditions." The hall applauded. Vera turned to Jackson with a small smile. "Congratulations. You have become something my people have never had before." Jackson rubbed his forehead. "So, I'm basically king now." "More like the brains behind the throne," Vera said gently. "But yes, you hold great influence." Jackson looked at the crowd, glowing faces, hopeful eyes, and an entire empire looking to him for guidance. "Okay," he said with a slow exhale. "Guess I better not mess this up." Vera stepped close. "You won't. You proved today that a human can lead with both heart and logic." Jackson smiled back. "Well, if I'm staying here, I'll need someone to help me figure out all these glowing gadgets." Vera's eyes warmed. "I know someone." Together, they stepped toward the crystal balcony, overlooking the shining city below. Jackson Hale, once a simple mechanic, was now the unexpected kingmaker of an alien empire, and his story was only beginning.